This is a conversation around utilizing AI in order to get more done in less time, especially when it comes to generating more leads for your email list. So what I have for you is a prompt guide. The prompt guide is going to accelerate what you're doing a lot faster, and it's going to shortcut your learning curve of something like ChatGPT. So bobtheteacher.com/lead prompts. And that's going to take you to this page. This page is going to ask for your email address because I would like to show you what I'm teaching by giving you the same steps you're going to give to your ideal clients too. So put in your preferred email address. That's going to give you a thank you page. It's going to also send you an email that gives you a link to the AI prompt guide that I have here. Originally, it was going to be 5 prompts that I thought would be super helpful for you to get the job done when it comes to lead gen. But as I was putting it together last month, I realized that there's some pre-work that needs to be done, and there's some advanced stuff that might be helpful for you to achieve more of your goals. And so instead of 5 prompts, this turned into 29 specific prompts that are going to help you get the result that you're looking for. What's inside the guide, you can see the different table of contents that are here. You can see that what we're going to focus on during this conversation is the planning your lead magnet. We're also going to have a set of landing page creation prompts, thank you page creation prompts, and some bonus prompts for additional content and traffic and things of that nature. Okay, I'm going to post the date of when I last updated it along the way. So if you want to come back to this in a few weeks, see if there's some changes, you're going to be able to see what those are at that spot. The first thing that I want to mention real quick is that the whole purpose of this prompt guide is to give you an opportunity to create something for your marketing that still sounds like you, still is based on your expertise, your experience, and tries not to lean too heavily into ChatGPT or AI as a brain, but more as a sounding board, as a buddy, if you will, to get your stuff done faster. Because you already have the expertise, you don't need to sound like everybody else with your generic output of ChatGPT, but you've got some really good thoughts, I'm sure, and you want that to be on full display. But you also don't want to spend 3 weeks creating what can be done in a day or so, or even less. So the goal of the first 8 prompts, which we're not going to go over in depth today, is to get your voice heard by ChatGPT, to help train it to sound like you, to talk like you, to use your phrasing, to use your vibe, your tone of voice, etc. And so that's what these first 8 prompts are. It's going to require you to get some of your example writing, some of your example transcripts, some of your example podcast episodes, some of your example blog posts or social media posts, emails you've written, etc. As much of that artifact gathering that you can get, the better that you're going to be able to match your output of ChatGPT based on what your brain actually would say. But for our conversation, what I want to do is help you to come up with a lead magnet idea, because I found over the last 10 years of working with a lot of people around the world about this topic is they typically got stuck on what should their lead magnet be. All right. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to use ChatGPT as a bit of a brainstorming partner to get the job done. Okay. So here's what we have in mind. You've got a 20 questions concept. So this is not foreign to you, I'm sure. And I imagine you could come up with your own set of 20 questions that people want to know, either before they're ready to buy, or at the time of purchase, or even after purchasing. This follows the model of Marcus Sheridan's They Ask, You Answer. And I want you to take on that same concept here with the help of ChatGPT. So what you're going to do is you're going to copy this prompt. All the prompts in this guide are in blue, and you're simply going to copy it, and then you're going to paste it into ChatGPT. But you're going to modify what you see in brackets. Okay, so that's where the first 8 prompts are going to give you, like, what are the goals that your people have, what's your customer avatar, etc. Okay, let's go to a new thread, and we would paste this in, and we would replace the details here with the details that you would want to say. All right. For the sake of our conversation, I want to utilize this. So I'm working on a travel to Spain with kids.com lead magnet and product based on what Teresa and I learned from traveling to Spain last year with our kids. And it was a lot of fun. So we're going to make a guide about it. So we fill in the details of that customer avatar. and we hit return. And so we're asking ChatGPT, again, as a bit of a sounding board, what would you say are the top 20 questions people have? And then it gives us that list. And using our experience, we can say, you know what, this sounds good. Or, you know what, that question isn't quite right at this time of when we want to deal with it. Some of these questions are going to be things that you would have thought about on your own or you already had thought about. Some of them, though, might be phrased with a bit more nuance or phrased with different language than what you might have come up with. It also may present you with some questions that you didn't even think people would ask because it might have been too common knowledge for you. So having this list of 20 questions is a really good idea for just giving you a refresher on what do you think are the most important things. But I will say that 20 questions is too much for you to tackle in one lead magnet. And also, I want you to prioritize your top questions so that your lead magnet really addresses the key things that people want to know at the time they want to buy or shortly before that. So that's where prompt number 10 comes in. Of the top 20 questions you listed above, which 5 are the key questions they'll have that affect their actual buying decisions? Okay, so we're going to copy this and we're going to paste it in to the chat. It's going to help us narrow down the top 20 to the top 5. Using your experience and expertise, you may agree or disagree with these 5, and that's where you need to make sure that you're comfortable with whatever comes out. But what I found working with clients on this process and seeing people go through a similar training like this I did last month is that this is pretty darn good. Okay. And ideally, it's exactly what you needed. Now, your lead magnet doesn't need to be all 5 of these questions get addressed, but 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4 could be addressed in that one lead magnet, and you can save the other ones for a secondary lead magnet or for some additional content that you're using to drive traffic towards your lead magnet. Okay, but that's prompt number 10. Now, prompt number 11 is, all right, now knowing those are the top questions, we're going to ask for some ideas on what my lead magnet can be. So we know what the questions are that need to be addressed. I'm going to add in a little line here that says, please include at least 2 or 3 of the top key questions. Okay. So we have, based on this customer avatar, I want to create a resource, and knowing all this information helped me come up with a lead magnet. Okay. So we come over, we hit paste, and we're going to see what comes up. It is always amazing to me at how fast this thought process can be when you have a buddy like ChatGPT. Of course, you can do the same thing, just thinking out loud or talking to a colleague, talking to someone else who's interested in this topic. You can have this conversation with them too. But regardless, you come up with some ideas and you use your experience and expertise to evaluate how good would this information be as a lead magnet. All right. So chat sometimes will give you some instructions as well about like why this is addressing the needs that are there. But ultimately, this is a pretty darn good lead magnet idea. Now, I will say that most of the time when you see a lead magnet that comes out of what ChatGPT tells you from these prompts, it's going to tell you some kind of guide that would be super valuable, but it might be a little bit bigger than you're willing to chew at this moment, right? You might want to go a little bit simpler. So that's why prompt number 12 is here, is an opportunity for you to simplify what it is that you're actually wanting them to do. All right. So we're going to put that prompt in, copy paste. This is great. Can you give me an even simpler idea that is less involved? All right. So with that in mind, we're going to get a new lead magnet. This lead magnet is going to be narrower in focus. It's more than likely going to be a checklist or some kind of one sheet that you can do, or even a video that you can create in a couple minutes. Regardless of what it is, it's a pretty good concept and it's simpler. Okay. In my case, I like checklists a little bit better. And I say something like, this is great, but can you give me something similar, but as a checklist? And this gives us another way to massage the same kind of information, but putting it into checklist format instead. All right. So with this idea, we then have that concept in mind. We have what the lead magnet can be about. Now, your job is to then copy this, put it into a doc, and write the fill in the blanks of this idea. If you are the kind of person that loves to write and you are a fast typist, this is great. Okay. So you take these 5 things, you copy them, you put them into a Google Doc, you start writing. right? But if you are not a good writer or you just prefer to talk, then that's where our final prompt we're talking about today comes along, which is to turn a conversation into a lead magnet. So this is how this works. You can do this by yourself, or you can do this with a buddy, a spouse, a kid, a friend, a neighbor, colleague, whoever. But you say, hey, will you help me record a conversation for 10 or 15 minutes about something I'm making? Now, here's the cool thing. You're not trying to make this to be a YouTube video or a course or anything like that. You certainly could double dip and use it for that, but you're really just trying to get ideas out of your head and onto a format that can be aided with ChatGPT. This is what you do. You go onto Riverside. I prefer that to Zoom because it does a better job. You record a conversation and you use these ideas as a guide. Okay, so if you're going to do a checklist, this would be what I would talk about. Okay, so we talk about the destinations. We talk a little bit around planning, the budget, the packing. And we're just going to have that conversation. And we're going to record it. And then once you record it, Riverside, any other tool that you're going to record will likely give you the transcript. Okay. And once you have the transcript, you're going to load it up into ChatGPT. So you're going to have this prompt. I'm ready to create my lead magnet based on our earlier conversation. I recorded a conversation, dives deeper into each of the key questions. Using the transcript and keeping as much of my own phrasing as possible, create a checklist. Include a short introduction to what is covered inside the lead magnet, a short about the author based on what you know about me, the text of the lead magnet, and a summary conclusion that encourages the reader to take the next step with me, which is to, and then you tell ChatGPT what that's going to be. All right. Now, how do you do that part? You go into Riverside, whatever, you download the transcript. It'll just be a text file. You come over to chat and you say this information. Here's the transcript. And we'll go here. And I'm going to go into my computer and I'm going to look for my transcript that I have. Okay. So we have Therese and Bob transcripts here. And I upload that file. Here we go. It's just spitting out for me based on what Therese and I talked about, using our language as much as possible, a checklist for going into Barcelona or to somewhere else like that. This is, again, not taking all the information that's on the internet and trying to pass it off as my knowledge. It's taking our knowledge that we recorded on this call and turning it into the checklist. The conversation might take 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Our conversation was about an hour because we wanted to pack in more detail than just what was going to be for this checklist. But whether it's 10 minutes or an hour or whatever, it's much faster, most likely for you, than just trying to write from a blank screen, right? Then you've got the details that you see. It's reorganizing it into a way that flows, and then it's done. You just simply copy this, bring it over into Google Docs, bring it over to Canva, wherever it is that you want to make the actual lead magnet to make it look better. Okay. Pretty cool, right? Pretty amazing how fast something like this can be. And you're noticing, by the way, with this checklist that it's pretty comprehensive what it's doing based on our transcript. So after it goes through and does all of the things that I have, in this particular case, I might use it as it is, but I might also say, this is amazing, but will you create a simplified checklist that hits the key points of each element or something like that? So it can be narrower. But I love the way that it is giving the same kinds of things we talked about in a logical order, basing on what we said, and then also already has the introduction, the conclusion, and then we have some details that we can massage a little bit later. All right. Pretty awesome. So again, the lead prompts guide is bobtheteacher.com/lead prompts. You're going to get all 29 prompts, but do them in order. Preferably you do the first 8 of these before you get to the lead magnet part that I just went over. But once that is done, help me make a landing page. Help me make a thank you page. Help me make some additional content to drive traffic to this landing page. All of that comes in really nice. So what I want to encourage you to do is take action on what you've just learned. Go to bobtheteacher.com/lead prompts in order to get this guide, and then start putting it into action for yourself. Now, if you're the kind of person that wants help and guidance along the way, you want to have your hand held just a little bit while you're still moving forward and getting more confident in what you're doing, I do have something for you that I want to invite you to, which is a cohort for accountability and coaching, putting this together. So let's finish your lead magnet funnel together. Take a look at this entire prompt guide and go through it together over the course of 10 days. We're starting up on Tuesday. We do have a holiday on Monday in the United States. So the group runs February the 18th to the 28th. We're going to do a couple of group coaching calls. So those are a bit of mini trainings similar to what I just walked you through, but a little bit more in depth on some of the strategy that we're talking about. More importantly, the group coaching calls are places for you to ask questions and to share what it is that you're coming up with as you're going through this process over the next 10 days of this program. We're also going to have a pop-up Facebook group, and that pop-up Facebook group is going to allow you to meet in between our live sessions to post your progress, to share some wins, to share some obstacles that you're running into, or just to get some feedback and ideas from the other members of the group. All right. That Facebook group is going to last for a couple of weeks beyond this cohort, but it's a great way for us to really get connected to each other and make sure that you finish what you start with this program. And then, of course, that group is also an opportunity to celebrate the completion along the way to help make sure that you got to the finish line. So there's a few FAQs here if you would like to read those over to give you a little bit more detail if you have additional questions. If you have questions about the prompt guide or this program, feel free to DM me if you wish. You can also post a comment below the video in order to let me know what it is that you're thinking about and what you need to move forward. All right. I also say that at the beginning of this document, there are some resource recommendations that I have for you. I mentioned a couple during this conversation, but feel free to read over which ones I'm talking about. Click through to see them in depth. And I think that you'll enjoy not having to figure out which tools to utilize, especially if you're more at the beginning phases of using ChatGPT and AI in your marketing efforts. Thanks for joining me today. I'm looking forward to seeing how you take action on what you learned and how it helps you get the right clients in the door to have their lives transformed by the services that you offer. All right. So that's it for now. I'll teach you again soon.